Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a market analysis today, specifically focused on outdoor pest control devices. We've got insights drawn from cognitive market research, and our mission for this deep dive is really to pull out the key ideas. What's fueling growth, what are the hiccups, and where's it all heading? It might sound a bit niche, but it touches on things we all care about. Pests, health, enjoying the outdoors, even the tech we use.
Absolutely. And what's quite interesting from this research is how this seemingly simple issue connects to much bigger trends.
Right. So let's dig into those drivers first. What's the report saying are the main forces pushing demand?
Well, one of the really significant drivers is this rise in global health consciousness. The report highlights growing awareness about vector-borne diseases, things like malaria, dengue, Zika, even Lyme disease carried by pests.
Oh, okay. So it's less about annoyance and more about actual health risks.
Exactly. It elevates pest control from, just a convenience thing to a preventative health measure.
And does the analysis link that to things like healthcare costs? Is that part of the picture?
It does, yeah. That heightened health awareness, plus the rising cost of treating these illnesses, it's shifting focus towards prevention. So you see investment coming not just from homeowners, but municipalities, hospitality businesses too, hotels, restaurants, they all need to protect people.
Makes sense. But it's not just about avoiding diseases, right? Feels like, well, everyone wants to be outside more lately.
That's the other huge factor the report points to, this growing popularity of outdoor living. Think gardening, backyard dining, using parks, outdoor venues. People want those spaces to be comfortable, pest-free.
So restaurants with patios, resorts,
Yeah, event spaces too.
yeah.
They're all actively looking for good solutions.
And technology is making new solutions possible, I assume. The report mentions innovation.
Definitely. Tech is a key enabler here. We're seeing all sorts of new devices, things like solar-powered traps, smart IoT devices you control with an app, even ultrasonic repellents getting more sophisticated, like with species-specific frequencies. And there's a really significant push towards non-toxic, more environmentally friendly options as well.
Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing. Every market has hurdles.
Hmm.
What are the big challenges the analysis points out?
Yeah, one major challenge highlighted is, well, the variable effectiveness of some devices. Especially some electronic or ultrasonic ones, their performance can be inconsistent. Depends on the environment, the type of pest. Plus, pests can actually adapt over time, developing resistance.
Yeah. And I bet the cutting edge tech isn't cheap.
Cost is definitely mentioned as a barrier. Those premium, high-tech devices, they can be pretty expensive for, say, individual homeowners or smaller businesses. And then there are practical issues, too. The need for regular maintenance, sometimes they malfunction, durability concerns, especially in rough weather.
And what about the environmental side? You mentioned eco-friendly options, but the analysis raises questions there too.
It does. There's a tension. The report notes that some common methods, like traditional bug zappers, aren't very selective. They kill the target pests, sure, but they can also harm beneficial insects, which messes with local ecosystems.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that leads to criticism, maybe regulatory issues.
Exactly. It's drawn criticism and definitely some regulatory scrutiny. That's a real challenge for the industry to navigate.
So looking ahead, this is where it often gets really interesting. What trends does the report see emerging?
A really big one is the shift towards smart, connected pest management. Think real-time monitoring, being able to control systems remotely with an app, using data analytics to figure out the best strategies.
So it's becoming more proactive, less just reactive zapping.
Precisely. More proactive, more intelligent control.
And does that connect back to the environmental concerns we were just talking about?
It does, actually, because alongside that smart tech, there's growing momentum for sustainable and chemical-free approaches. The report sees growth in things like solar-powered systems, more interest in biological controls using natural predators, and even innovative physical barriers. These align really well with that broader global push for greener living.
It sounds like it's moving away from a one-size-fits-all solution, more tailored.
That's another crucial trend mentioned, customization. We're seeing devices designed for specific pests or specific environments, maybe targeting mosquitoes in humid areas or rodents in agricultural settings, addressing local problems effectively.
All right. So if we bring all these pieces together, the drivers, the challenges, these trends, what's the overall outlook for this market, according to the report?
Well, based on this analysis, the outdoor pest control device market looks set for pretty robust expansion. It's being driven by that ongoing innovation we talked about, the strong demand for safe, usable outdoor spaces, and that general shift towards smarter, greener tech.
Interesting. So this deep dive really shows how something like pest control is being, well, fundamentally reshaped by these big forces, health concerns, lifestyle shifts, and technology. We've covered the drivers, some may be surprising, the challenges that persist, and these exciting future trends like smart tech and more sustainable options.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more complex than just putting out a fly trap, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. As these pest control methods get smarter, more targeted, maybe even integrated into our smart homes, how do we strike the right balance? How do we ensure that controlling the pests we don't want doesn't end up harming the beneficial insects and the broader ecosystem that we absolutely do need? That feels like a key tension to watch as this evolves. Okay, so let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive today, looking into a global market that, well, it might seem a bit niche maybe, outdoor pest control devices, but it's actually projected for some really significant growth.
It really is, and it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and our source for this is it's a recent market analysis report from Cognitive Market Research. So our mission, really, is to go beyond just the headline numbers.
Right.
We want to dig into the key findings, get a handle on the growth drivers, and explore how different parts of the world are performing in this space.
And what's so interesting, I think, is how the trends in this specific market, well, they really mirror some much bigger global forces.
Like what specifically?
We're talking about things like increasing urbanization, more people living closer together, and also the challenges coming from climate change, shifting pest patterns.
Right, and health concerns too.
Exactly, growing awareness around health issues linked to pests. So yeah, it's not just about, bug zappers and repellents in the garden.
Yeah.
It's really tied into how we live, how we interact with an environment that's frankly changing.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's start with that big picture the report paints. It gives us a baseline, right? Sales revenue back in 2021.
Yeah, it does. It says the global outdoor pest control devices market generated just over $1.4 billion back then in 2021.
Okay, $1.4 billion. Looking forward.
Well, the projection is for steady climbing. It sees it reaching nearly $1.8 billion by 2025. And then a pretty significant expansion after that. It projects the market more than doubling that 2021 figure, hitting over $2.8 billion by 2033.
Wow, doubling. So if we look at that whole period, 2021 right through to 2033, what kind of growth rate are we talking about?
The report calculates a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 6.0006%.
Okay, 6.0006%.
Exactly. And just to clarify for anyone, CAGR basically means that on average, over that whole 12-year period,
Right.
the market's expected to grow by about 6% every single year.
6% average annual growth globally for devices tackling outdoor pests. That feels like a strong signal.
It really does. It suggests something pretty fundamental is pushing up demand worldwide.
Okay, let's break it down by region then, because the report does highlight some distinct differences across the globe. It mentions North America leading the pack currently.
Yes, that's right. North America was the largest slice of the pie in 2021. We're talking over $543 million in sales just from that region.
Over $500 million.
Yeah. And that's projected to grow to over $1 billion by 2033. The regional CAGR there is calculated at 5.466%.
Okay, 5.466%. And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the dominant player?
Predictably, yes. The U.S. accounted for over $374 million of that 2021 figure, expected to grow steadily. Canada, of course, also a significant part of that North American picture.
But here's something that jumped out at me from the report, Mexico.
Ah, yes.
Within North America, Mexico seems to be at a particularly fast track compared to the U.S. and Canada.
That's a really key finding. The report forecasts Mexico growing at a notably high CAGR of 7.242% over that period.
7.242%.
Yeah. So it suggests that while, the market's large and maybe more mature in the U.S. and Canada, something else. Maybe specific climate shifts down there or different urbanization patterns. Something's accelerating demand quite a bit faster in Mexico.
That's definitely a much faster clip than the overall North American average. Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. What's the story there?
Europe's also a very substantial market. Sales were over $410 million back in 2021.
Okay.
And it's forecast to grow at a regional CAGR of 5.678%, so slightly faster than North America overall.
Right.
That pushes the market value towards around $795 million by 2033.
And who leads in Europe? The report mentions the UK.
Yes, the UK seems to lead the European market, projected for solid growth. Germany and France also contribute pretty considerably to that regional total.
Hmm.
But the report also points out that growth isn't just in those biggest economies. There's a category, rest of Europe. And parts of that are showing a really healthy CAGR, over 6.3%. So that indicates, widespread expansion, maybe less visible sometimes, but happening across the continent.
Interesting. So that varied growth across Europe
Okay.
could be down to different climate zones, maybe different public health approaches.
Absolutely. A mix of factors probably influencing things differently from country to country or sub-region to sub-region.
Okay. So strong growth in Europe, slightly higher overall regional growth rate than North America, some pockets growing even faster.
Yeah.
Now, Asia Pacific, this is often the region people point to for really rapid market changes, high population density.
Absolutely. And the report definitely bears that out here. The Asia-Pacific region, it shows some of the most dynamic growth projections.
Okay.
It started smaller than North America or Europe in 2021, sure, but it's projected for a really significant leap, expected to reach over $646 million by 2033.
And the growth rate?
That translates to a really impressive regional CAGR of 7.235%.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, notably higher than both North America and Europe.
And within APAC, China must be a huge factor.
Oh, definitely. China is a major engine driving that regional growth.
Yeah.
Tops the region, has its own high CAGR close to 8%.
Nearly 8% for China.
But what's really fascinating, I think, is India.
Go on.
Driven by, incredibly rapid urbanization, the report shows India's market share is projected to grow at the highest rate in the entire region. It boasts a CAGR of almost 8.9%.
Whoa, nearly 9% annual growth for India. 8.9.
Almost 9%, yeah.
That just screams impact from that urbanization driver we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You can picture it, right? Millions moving into denser areas.
Exactly. Potentially increasing encounters with pests, or maybe just a greater demand for more advanced solutions compared to traditional methods.
Yeah. And the report lists others too, right? Japan, South Korea, Australia, Southeast Asia contributing as well.
Mm-hmm. They're all part of that dynamic regional picture, growing contributors across the board there.
Okay, let's move south now. South America. What's the outlook there?
South America's market is also projected for pretty robust expansion. It stood at nearly $75 million back in 2021.
Right.
And it's expected to more than double, reaching over $156 million by 2033. The regional CGR there is 6.249%.
6.249%.
And Brazil leads the charge.
Brazil leads in sheer market size, yes. Projected to reach over $71 million by 2033. Argentina is also a significant market.
Okay.
But again, just like we saw with Mexico, we see another standout performer in terms of growth rate.
Who is it this time?
Colombia. It's projected to surge with a CGR of 7.715%.
Over 7.7%.
Yeah, the highest in the region. And you see this pattern, right? This kind of accelerated growth in specific countries like Colombia or Mexico, as we mentioned. It really points towards localized factors being quite strong.
Could be specific emerging pest problems, maybe, or just a rising middle class having more disposable income for home and yard stuff.
Could be a combination of all those things. Specific local conditions driving that faster growth.
Okay. What about the Middle East? The Middle East market also shows strong potential, according to the report. It registered over $60 million in 2021, projected to hit over $131 million by 2033. That's growing at a CAGR of 6.597%.
So another region growing faster than the global average.
Exactly. And Saudi Arabia is identified as a key player there. Sales projected to more than double.
Any others mentioned?
Yeah. The report lists countries like Turkey, the UAE, Egypt, all showing solid growth rates, sort of mid-6% range, and contributions from Qatar and the rest of the Middle East, too.
And the drivers there.
Yeah.
Maybe climate specific to the region, or maybe tourism plays a role, wanting pest-free resorts and things.
Could certainly be part of it. Climate factors unique to the Middle East may be combined with increasing standards of living and, yes, possibly tourism driving demand for these kinds of pest-free environments.
Right. Okay, and finally, Africa. What did the report find there?
Africa is also showing promising development in this market. It grew from nearly $47 million in 2021.
Okay.
Projected to reach nearly $94 million by 2033. That's at a 5.611% CAGR.
5.6%. And Nigeria leads the market there.
Nigeria leads in terms of size, yes. Revenues projected to reach over $26 million by 2033, followed by South Africa. And then growing markets in the sort of rest of Africa category as well. It's a diverse picture across the continent, for sure.
Yeah.
But the overall trend is clearly one of increasing adoption of these outdoor pest control devices.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive into the cognitive market research report.
Yeah.
We've seen that the global market for these devices, it's not just growing.
No.
It's projected for really significant expansion, expected to hit over $2.8 billion by 2033.
And that overall strong annual growth rate, that global PG of just over 6%.
Right. And we saw pretty robust regional growth almost everywhere we looked. Asia Pacific, though, really projected for the highest regional CGR, over 7.2%.
Yeah, but also strong performances, exceeding that global average in South America and the Middle East as well, both looking at KGRs over 6%.
And then when you drill down into the details, some individual countries really leave out, don't they?
Yeah.
With particularly high projected growth rates.
Definitely. Like Mexico over 7.2%, China approaching 8%.
India leading the whole pack at almost 8.9%.
Incredible, yeah. And Colombia over 7.7%. And these aren't just, abstract numbers. They really point to concentrated demand signals, strong ones, in specific parts of the world.
And this remarkable expansion, as the source material makes clear, it doesn't seem random at all.
Not at all. It ties directly back to those major global forces we discussed right at the start.
Increasing urbanization.
Driving pests closer to where people live, climate change.
Altering pest behaviors, their ranges.
Exactly. And growing health concerns, making people, more proactive about managing pests around their homes and communities.
So, okay, here's maybe a final thought to leave you, the listener, with. Thinking about those places projected for the really high growth, India, China, Mexico, Colombia, how might those specific drivers, urbanization, climate shifts, health awareness, how might they be kind of intensely magnified? Or maybe just playing out differently in those specific areas to create such surging demand for outdoor pest control solutions?
Yeah, that's the key question. And maybe how does understanding those dynamics, those intense local pressures, how might that help you think about the pest challenges and maybe the solutions that you see right where you are, in your own community or even your own backyard?